r/AskReddit. What are you studying a little salty about? The fact that I spelled mayonnaise correctly in my 4th grade class spelling bee, but the teacher claimed I didn't and dismissed me. I had one in the 3rd grade, and proceeded to win in the 5th and 6th grades as well. The unfair disqualification in 4th grade ruined what would have been a 4-year streak. Edit. I am sorry so many of you have also experienced spelling bee injustice. That my 6th grade teacher refused to believe I had no idea the dude sitting behind me was copying my answers on the test. My mom decided that she didn't want Christmas presents one year and made sure to tell us, me and my 2 brothers. I suggested to her instead that we donate what we would have spent to charity in her name. She said she was fine with that if that's what we wanted to do. So that's what I did. I sent her a nice little card and the info for the charities I donated to, so she could see that her decision helped some good organizations out. Mom was pissed. Why didn't you just send me a gift card if you weren't gonna buy me anything? You ruined Christmas. Now, I love my mom. By that point we had a total of one really nasty fight, and that was several years before. She was fine growing up. She was fine most of my adulthood except for a suicide attempt that I got to call the ambulance for from the other side of the country. Long story. I'm accustomed to buying my mom decent, thoughtful presents. So when she accused me of ruining Christmas for her, I was distraught. I sent her a screen cap of the conversation we had and circled where she said she'd be fine with my decision to donate in her name. Her response? I don't remember that. I deleted those texts. I lost my shit. Told her it's her own fault for raising me to do as I'm told. And next time just don't say shit if she's gonna change her mind and not tell us. And then we didn't speak for 3 months. This was 2.5 years ago and I have not gotten over it. Coming second in a school trivia competition 21 years ago, I had the correct answers on 2 questions that would have sent us to the national champs and was vetoed by the other 3 shitheads on my team. I was at a house party in college and we had to take off our shoes. Some beach walked home in my leather knee-high boots and I've never gotten over it. Edit. For clarity, she left her dirty ass shoes behind for me to go home with. So thanks I guess you shoe thieving wrench. When I had to get photos printed for a university project, so I went to a printer shop and they charged me £2 extra for a DVD with my photos on, even though I told them I didn't want the DVD so I didn't get it, but they still charged me anyways and threw away my receipt before I could look at it. So with my new photos I went to hand in my project, only to be told that we were doing a peer review of them. No one in my group did the project and couldn't care less about it. So I wasted all that time and effort. Still so salty. On a 4th grade math test we had to make a shape that had only 4 sides, 1 set of parallel lines, and only 1 right angle. There were probably more requirements but I can't remember. I remember almost crying at my desk and spending 20 minutes on that one question while constantly telling my teacher that it wasn't possible but according to her it was. And the next day we went over the answer key, and the answer had 2 right angles. When my old boss pulled out the 2020 calendar in late 2019 and asked everyone what days off they need so we can plan ahead and around, everyone was spitting off dates. I didn't have any plans yet so I didn't request anything until she specifically asked me if I wanted any dates off. I shrugged and asked for 1 day around my birthday because why not? And she started mocking me in front of everyone. It's just a 23rd birthday. Why would you need that off? But you look, obviously rolling her eyes, then started treating me like an idiot the rest of the day. A child in my child's class at school told their teacher that their mom was taking them out of school for the day of their birthday and so they would be absent on that day. The teacher admonished the child and told them that if they weren't present the following day that there would be hell to pay. The child was rightly upset and decided to go into school. They hadn't taken down their homework properly and so did 3 different pages of work. It was the wrong work. The teacher locked the child in the classroom over lunch on their birthday. 20 years ago I had 3 friends show up at my house and when they left my wallet with $80 in it was missing. One of the guys felt bad and gave me $20 back. 3 years after that we are in the BK drive-thru and he whipped out my wallet. Still salty. His FB friend request has just been sitting there for like 2 years. Like 12 years ago, a friend of mine brought his friend to my house. My phone went missing at some point. He was the only person there that I had not known for half my life. He tried to blame it on my siblings' friends, but didn't realize that he was the only one there who didn't consider our house a second home. I ended up getting someone I knew to tell him she lost her phone and she got him to offer her my exact phone, but at some point he must have realized what was going on and he ghosted her before she could buy it back for me. Like 6 years later he tried to come back for a party and I told him to get lost. Still mad. I'm 35 now. When I was 14 or 15, my mom stormed into my room one evening and accused me of smashing a glass and getting rid of the evidence. It was one of these retro Coke glasses. I swore I didn't break any glass, and if I did, why would I hide such a small accident? But my mom didn't believe me. She was so mad and accused me of lying. She wouldn't even say why I was her prime suspect. Somehow it just had to be me. Anyway, I got into trouble for it even without any evidence. Some time later it turned out no glass was actually smashed. My mom thought the glasses she bought came in 4s. But our neighbor bought the same set and there were actually 3 glasses in it. My mom acknowledged the fact but never apologized to me for how she screamed at me or how she accused me out of the blue. She just never mentioned it again. I'm still mad about it. Edit. Just to address a couple of things since the comment got a lot more karma than it deserves tbh. My mom's not a narcissist. She just has a petty streak sometimes and she doesn't like being wrong. She's a great mom. She had me very young and I don't think she was really mature enough to raise kids back then. But she did her best and I really love her. Also, I'm not angry at her anymore. I'm a grown-ass adult and most of the time I almost act like one. It's just one of those memories you can't help but feel a bit salty about whenever it pops into your head. I think most people can relate. Moral of the story: acknowledge when you made a mistake to your kids and people in general. I once returned a wallet to a police station like 15 years ago. They laughed cause there was money in it still. They then asked for my address so they could mail me a little something to commemorate the good deed. Never got anything. I just wanted to hang it on my fridge. Edit. This was in some random town a few friends and I were passing through in the Midwest. I didn't expect anything in return. Just wanted it. Double edit. Guys, why would you mark me with faith in humanity restored? I made a post about how I was upset my good deed didn't produce results for me. That's not behavior worth rewarding, lol. Final edit. You all have been awesome sharing your salt with me as well. Dare I say we've become an ocean? I was probably 5 years old visiting my mom at the hospital after she gave birth to my brother and she was given food on a tray which she didn't want so she gave it to me. I put the tray on the table and as I was eating, the nurse takes the tray away from me and throws away the food. That may have my first true instance of anger in my life. I'm 27 now and I'm pissed as I'm writing this. Haha. Years ago a guy I worked with said he could guess the age of any girl in line. I pointed out the girl closest to us who was a tween and asked what's her age. He then called me a pedo for asking him to guess the age of a girl. Edit. I should note this job was at an amusement park where some people literally had the job of guessing ages, weights, heights. My brother eating the remainder of my birthday cake behind my back a couple of years ago. After the celebrations I put what was left in the freezer to have some other time as a nice treat, birthday cake being a novelty. The ducker demolished every last bit of it. This wasn't just a little slice of cake left over. At least half of the cake remained until he got his mitts on it. Was absolutely fuming. Came second in food tech competition. Made a lovely main course then longs do chat biscuits with lemon posset for dessert. I made this dessert because the judges prior to this day told us don't make a cake for dessert. Guess what won first place? A ducking cake. When I was 21, I was deeply self-conscious about my baldness and I wore a hat everywhere. A friend of mine thought I was worried over nothing, so he set me up on a date with a wonderful woman. Everything went well at first, but when the hat came off, she shrieked and sprinted to the bathroom, and that was that. My mum ate a candy I saved for after school. It happened 20 years ago. I'm still angry about how my big sister ate my lollipop when I was 7. Kindergarten. Playing with a kid in the sandbox. Was a fairly drizzly day. We're making a castle and there's a puddle a few feet from us. He wants to dig a moat around the castle, and I say sure. So he just kinda jams his hand in the dirt and starts pulling, making way too huge of a channel, which he immediately realizes is going to just destroy our castle. So I say quick, build a dam to stop the water. He freezes, stares at me with wide eyes and mouth agape before running off. I think this is strange, but okay, whatever. I saved the castle, so I go back to digging when the teacher runs up and grabs me and says to go to timeout. To which I obviously protest and say no, WTF, I didn't do anything. She then immediately says she knows I said a bad word and to not try and lie. To which I am again confused and say I did not. After a few back and forths of her trying to pull me away by the arm and me rather violently resisting, it occurs to her to actually ask what happened. I explain the story. I still remember her face kinda dropping, realizing the other little shit thought I said damn instead of damn, and then immediately ratting on me. Tries to say well maybe use a different word, to which I again vehemently protest against because no, that is the correct word for such a situation and that's just how it works and it's his fault for not knowing the word, etc. Until she finally gives him and explains to the kid that I did not swear and that no one likes tattletales. I am in my 30s and on the other side of the country, and I study I learn. It'll remember this as the very instance in which I gazed upon my fellow man and wept, for he is stupid. I missed out on recognition at my school's big academic assembly for arguably the most important academic results one gets in their schooling career in my state in Australia because the teacher I had sent my results to didn't pass on the news. It's been years and it still fills me with such exasperation. In a 5th grade science test, the question was, are there any stars in the solar system? I answered, yes. Teacher marked it wrong. I went up afterwards and said, what about the sun? He said he meant that all the other stars are not in our solar system and kept it marked wrong. Although I am harboring this for 50 years now. He was all around one of the best teachers I ever had and just passed away a week or so ago. But damn, that should have been marked right. Some friends from work planned a get together at a local chain restaurant for my birthday. One of my co-workers found out and decided it should also be to celebrate her birthday because it's the day before mine. Already annoyed, but whatever. The night of the dinner, a friend bought us both slices of cheesecake and they were presented with candles, and everyone sang happy birthday. At the end, she blew out her candle and then mine, and laughed about it. It was my candle. You were barely invited. I've never forgotten about it. The first day of 8th grade, my best friend and friend group informed me that they would no longer be my friend. To this day, 20 years later, I still don't understand how or why things ended up that way. I can only guess because I was the shy nerd of the group and they were trying to fit in with the cool crowd. Regardless, it was a miserable experience that left me with quite a few trust issues. They cancelled My Name Is Earl after telling the writers that it was definitely safe to end season 4 on a cliffhanger as they were going to make several more. Also still super salty over Flash Forward Utopia getting cancelled. Seems like half of the shows I get invested in are killed halfway through. In middle school, I had a test with some true-false questions. One said something about the Atlantic Ocean and the West Coast. I am in the US. There was some other stuff as well that was true about the Atlantic, but since the Atlantic is the East Coast, I marked it false. It was counted wrong, and when I protested, the teacher said something along the lines of obviously I meant East Coast. It was only 1 point and made no difference to my grade in the end. But my 13-year-old usually quiet teacher's pet self was ready to ducking riot. I honestly wish she had. Edit. I think this is now my most upvoted Reddit comment. 13-year-old me finally feels a little repaid for the injustice. Thank you all for commiserating with me. When I was in high school, I was occasionally allowed to drive my family's third car. It had a slow leak in one of the tires, so we were all supposed to check the pressure and put air in it if we needed to. I picked up a friend to go to a movie, and when we came out, one tire was completely flat. It wasn't the one with the leak, so I put the spare on and drove home. I got absolute hell from my parents about it. How irresponsible I was to not check it. I'd have to pay for the repair. Why didn't I call roadside assistance, etc.? Took it to get fixed. Repeat the whole lecture as we're dropping it off. and the tech who did it called my mom and told her he'd found a nail in the tire and there was no way I could have seen it coming. She refused to apologize and I still had to pay for it. When I was a freshman in college, my mom gave my car to my jailbird brother. Every time he got out she'd scrape a bunch of stuff together for his fresh start, without ever running it by me. He showed up to my school, changed the battery for me, and then drove away in it. He didn't tell me his intentions beforehand, so it wasn't until then that I caught on. As he drove off I called my mom and she just said, "I'll help you with a new one." He moved out of state with that car, wrecked it within weeks, and has since gone back to jail multiple times. Neither of them have given me a sincere apology to this day. In 4th grade English class, EU, I've used the word gross in a random sentence we had to write. The teacher argued that it isn't a real word. I said that it is. That I saw it a few times in video games and movies and she said that they aren't a reliable source. I said to her that I'm gonna show it in the dictionary, but she instead grabbed me by the arm and took me out of the classroom and locked the door. To this day I am still fuming about this. And then she had the nerve to be all chummy when I met her once in a supermarket. Gross. Edit. In both cases it was meant like disgusting and I know there are even more meanings behind the word. I wonder if she knows by now. 3 months ago I went on maternity leave. The woman hired to cover for me was being paid $3 more than I'm currently paid. She was going to be kept on as a full-time accounting assistant after I returned, but she couldn't keep up with my daily tasks and completely ducked up several databases that I had to correct when I returned to work the following month. When I asked for a raise, they offered me $0.50 after telling me how crucial I am to the structure of the company. Needless to say, I'm looking for a new job. My parents objected to my sister marrying the guy who is now her husband. They treated her badly and showed up in a sour mood to her wedding. They never apologized for their bad behavior. My sister and her husband have been married for 8 years. Parents, if your adult daughter wants to do something you disagree with, then let her know you think it's a mistake. But when she makes a decision, your job is to support her in that decision, not to repeatedly harp on her about it and make her hate you. When I was in high school, I entered a book quiz and one of the books I chose was Demon Thief by Darren Shan. During the quiz, I was asked what was the main characteristic of the demonitor summoned by the punk during the concert. I said it had 3 heads. Wrong. The answer was that it had a dyed mohawk. Except it was the punk that summoned it that had the mohawk, not the damned demonitor. I lost a point because the question setter could either not read, not write, or couldn't remember the book correctly. When I was in high school, someone tagged up the school. They announced there would be a reward for anyone who rats anyone out. I get called in the office and find out I'm suspended for vandalization. I didn't do it and had no idea who. 4 days later I'm allowed to come back to school because they found who actually did it. I just got an apology. Public humiliation. Private apology. Ugh. So, my dad and mom got divorced before I was 1 and he would randomly come around once every few years to pretend to be a dad for a week or 2 then disappear again. This is important to the story. Anyway, I have always sucked at and hated math. We got a homework assignment. I think I was in 1st grade. We were working on 0 times whatever number. I was super excited because I understood it and knew I would get all the questions right. The whole worksheet was just questions asking was 0 times another number was. My father made me show him the worksheet when I was finished and made me change every damn answer because wow, you're stupid. Did you pay attention at all in class? I explained to the teacher when I turned it in and study I learned it got a ducking 0. I found a bongo next to the trash at my old apartment and it was a perfect time capsule of the 90s. It had Grateful Dead stickers, a smiley face holographic sticker, a pot leaf sticker, and Alien. I'm telling you, if someone made this as a prop for a movie about the 90s, I would have told them that it's too on the nose. When I came home from work, the first thing my GF's friend said was "You're welcome," and I was like, what? She had peeled off all of the vintage stickers and now it was just a boring trash bongo. I'm still mad. Don't touch my shit. When I was in grade 7, a kid in grade 8 was being an annoying shit on the bus and teasing me as we were about to ride home after school. I shot an elastic band at him and it hit him somewhere below the waist. He ran off the bus holding his eye and found the vice principal. who then promptly suspended me from the bus for the trip home, and the next day, I had to wait at school while they called my mother, who had to arrange for my aunt to pick me up on short notice. My mom also had me over an hour late for work the next morning so that she could drop me off at school. I remember my mom giving the VP an earful for the bullshit bus suspension. We went to a county school, so most students including us relied on the bus service, and most parents worked in the city that was 30 minutes in the other direction. It was easily the most disruptive punishment for a working parent. So screw that kid, and screw that VP. When my mom put my sister's name on my birthday cake, later that night I also walked in on my parents getting their free con. Pretty horrible way to turn 13. Still angry. Was doing an exercise in grade 5 science where there was a drawing of a forest with a bunch of different things in it, and we had to mark what was biotic and abiotic, living and non-living. We had a substitute teacher in that day, and she told me I was wrong for marking fire as non-living, because it needs oxygen otherwise it dies. Man face palming. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.